Josh, Jordan, Ryan, you thought I was joking when I said I was gonna make a tier list for the Blackhole game mode. Well, I wasn't. And here it is. For your entertainment as well as to stuff my boredom, I am going to go through each one of these characters that is playable in the Blackhole game mode and rank them in these 3 tiers. In order. No this is any order. Nope, this is going to be first place, second place, third place, fourth, yada yada yada. Ana is banned because nap time. Sleep dart is broken no matter how long of a cooldown you put it on. You can just put people to sleep with good aim. Depends on if you take away his ability to grapple and do the B thing where he does like basically a Bowser down B. And if you don't take away that, he's up here with Ana. He's banned because he can just grapple and hang on. Doesn't matter. Immune to gravity. And can knock people away. And if you do take it away, he ends up down here because he has nothing else that can even create chaos. Even his ultimate mines. Okay. And these don't matter because they don't have any abilities that knock people up or anything. So, let's start with Soldier here. He's good. The ability to sprint and get really far ahead of everybody else is kind of nuts. And the other thing he has going for him is his missiles on a 3-second cooldown, which I find kind of busted. He can just knock people's feet up with good aim. He has the ability to live a really long time. And even his ultimate can help with knocking people up sometimes. Like if they try to dodge it when he's basically aimbotting them, he can end up hitting their feet instead, which will knock them up farther. And it's pretty busted. So he's good. He's good. I like him. Orisa is above him though. Orisa is like built for this game mode. She has 2 invulnerabilities, one being her Fortify on a 15-second cooldown, and the other one being her ult, which you don't even have to be in range of, which I find redonkulously broken. I feel like banning her in my alteration, but, you know, I'm going to keep it purist, I guess. I don't know. She has a barrier to avoid some knockups, like things like McCree's stun and Sigma's rock. Oops. And on top of that, the orb can send people up in the air and away from you, and you can just watch them die and ride into the sunset. No mobility, but still easily the best character in this game mode. Zarya, I think, wins more than Soldier. Her rocket boost at the beginning of the match, well, actually, yeah, her rocket boost at the beginning of the match is pretty nice. Gets you pretty far ahead of everybody else. Her ultimate can get people behind you. Not necessarily knock them up in the air, but it can a lot later on when gravity's really, really high. But typically, it's just going to make sure she can stay ahead. Her bubble gives her immunity to gravity. And then her secondary fire kind of just shoots missiles at everybody and knocks them up, kind of like McCree's missiles. Or not McCree's, sorry. Soldier's missiles. And, yeah, Zarya's pretty busted. She's below Orisa, obviously, and I think that Soldier just has the ability to a lot of times outpace and then just spam a lot of times gives him the upper edge, and he can dodge easier with sprint too. So if he can dodge Orisa's missile, he can dodge things like Orisa's bubble and Zarya's missiles and everything. So that gives him, I think, the upper edge there. Ooh, it's thundering outside. Lovely. Sigma, I think below Zarya. His rock is nice, especially early on when he doesn't take a huge penalty for using it. It can knock people up and send them pretty far away, especially the lighter characters. His suck, I'm gonna call it, gives him immunity to gravity, which is really nice. It's on a short cooldown. I don't remember the exact. I think it's like 5-ish seconds. His barrier is also nice, especially since you can send it so far, because that can avoid things like other Sigma rocks and stuns and everything. And yeah, I think he's pretty solid. I think he has a nice chance of winning if you can get him up there. His ultimate is, I guess, a factor early on, but a lot of the times it's not going to do anything too great, especially later on. So that's mostly an early game tool you want to just throw it at the very beginning to get some people farther behind. McCree. You can try. His role is mediocre at best. His mobility is mediocre at best. His ult gives him immunity to gravity, but it doesn't send him that far. His stun can mess people up early and possibly late because it makes him stop moving. But like you have to get pretty lucky with your area, like where you spawn, and also that other people don't attack you. Mostly. So the ability to get him to the end is going to be really, really hard. So you can try with him, but he's not going to do amazing. Speaking of Mei, haha, nice transition, funny joke. Better than Sigma, has freeze. Blizzard at the start can just get you miles ahead of everybody if a lot of people get caught in it, and then you just wall them out and win. There's not really a contest there. I actually think more than Zarya, is because that's more consistent. Zarya struggles just a little bit to get up there. She has more immunity and everything, but Mei, the ability to stall at the end as well is really nice. But it's mostly the zoning and everything that gives Mei the spot that really shines. She just has tools a lot like Orisa that just help her a lot in this game mode. She can beat out Soldier, but typically if Soldier gets there first, he wins. Mei's kind of volatile, I think, because she, like if she gets caught in the pack early and is behind, she will not do as well. She typically gets sucked in about like mid-game. So I think Soldier's more consistent in that regard, which earns him a spot higher, but otherwise Mei has the upper edge on like Zarya and Sigma. Pharah, I think has more of a shot than McCree, simply because she can knock people up a lot more often and a lot easier. McCree has to aim his like every 8-ish seconds. Pharah just kind of spams it. Her rockets and her other ability, I forget the name of. Rocket Barrage doesn't do too much except maybe stall you in place at the very end for a bit, but like she struggles a lot more than say like Sigma, who just has immunity, and a lot of these other people with like movement stuff. So she can try. Not gonna do too well. Oh no. Okay, never mind. I thought I'd loaded another page. Doomfist, I think, has a decent shot if he can get to the front of the pack, because his secondary fire, which is basically his primary fire, the way people use it, gives him a nice boost early on. His ult travels him a nice distance without having to worry about gravity, except when you land, which then it knocks you back. But it's not that hard. You can cancel it with like another secondary fire. Yeah, he's pretty good. It's debatable whether you can put him in this tier or not. I think he definitely wins a lot more than these other characters, but he's definitely the lowest in here if he's going to stay there. D.Va, I think, is going to be right next to Doomfist. D.Va's mobility is great, especially early on. She can ult spam since she gets both her self-destruct and her mech basically instantly. So that can knock people up if you send it up and away. Her mobility can actually knock people up, and she can stay going the direction she is, so other people get knocked back and she just keeps plowing ahead, which is really nice. She has a lot more mobility than a lot of the other characters up here, but it drops off hard because it doesn't give her enough of a boost. She's surprisingly light, I think, which is why gravity affects her more, because she tends to drop off towards the beginning of the late game area, I guess, when everybody's just starting to lose mobility. And yeah, it doesn't have much else going for her. Her defense matrix is actually nice against Orisa. I will give her a plus against that because I can just kind of take it in and suck it. She can counter a lot of people's attempts to try and knock her up, but when she actually tries to go on the offensive, which is something you need to do a lot of times, once you get to the end, she just kind of struggles there. So I think that's why I am going to rate her next to Doomfist and Sigma, just because I think the others are more consistent, and she is better than Doomfist by enough that it'll earn her this spot. Junkrat. I think Farah can get farther than Junkrat in most cases, because I think I've seen Farah get to the end. Junkrat will never get to the end. He's one of those... actually, wait, what am I talking about? He can't get to the end. There we go. This is a spot for him. He, yeah, the others can get to the end. Junkrat really can't. He can prevent you from winning. He can get a couple shots in there, but he's not doing much. Traps can really mess you up. His entire kit can knock you up and mess you up. He's not doing much else outside of that, though. Not much to say about him. Reinhardt, I think is more consistent than Sigma. I think Zarya is a little bit better, though. I think these four, it's typically a toss-up, but if you have Orisa, they just kind of win. His pin's really good in, like, every aspect. It gives him mobility. It can knock people up. You can use it offensively, defensively, whatever you need. His barrier is really nice to avoid CC again. His fire strike doesn't really do much. His ult's really nice at the beginning to get ahead of people and to like get them to be sucked in at the end, which I think he has a lot of tools for the job. It's just he doesn't excel at any of them, except maybe Pin. That's definitely his best tool. It's on a pretty short cooldown, but I think the others just have their tools excel more at what they do. Reinhardt's just kind of there. He's definitely better than, like, Sigma, I think, because he can just kind of counter that. He can counter D.Va really well, especially when she's out of mech for that brief period of time. And that's something I didn't talk about either. When she's out of mech, she gets pulled in really, really hard. So, yeah, Reinhardt earns that nice spot. Monkey is, I like to place Monkey. He definitely has the ability to win. He's better than D.Va and Doomfist, I know. I think this is fair for him. I think he's better than Sigma. His early game ability is great. What you can do is you can just use a jump, then pop your ult you get right at the beginning, and then just spam jump until it doesn't really help you anymore, and then get to the end that way. Then after that, you just kind of try to hold down the fort, and if anybody tries to approach you, you just use your ultimate, and you try to zone them out that way. So in that way, I guess he's more defensive, and then at the very end, he can go aggressive if he really wants to, but that's kind of risky. And I think that's the big word here is risk. He doesn't... it's kind of hard for him to play it safe at the end, because he doesn't really have that many tools to keep him up there. So if he gets knocked up, all he can really do is just trudge up, because if he tries to jump, he just gets sucked back, which doesn't help him at all. So I think for that reason, he falls below Reinhardt. So I guess that's more like a tier difference, if you want to call it, in between here. But I do think this... I think I'm actually going to change this. I'm just going to say... probably will win, because that's typically what happens up here. Brig. I think she has the best potential out of anybody in this middle tier here, just because she's really consistent. 5-second shield bash. can get you really far. The ult can get you far enough. She has the really long mace that can knock you up and do some things. You can do it early game as long as you're aiming it backwards, because that'll slow the other people down. But if you do it early game up front, it just kind of gives other people a boost, and it still slows you down. I wouldn't recommend using it too much because of just the way it works, but she has potential, I guess, if she gets a little lucky. But I think it is a lot more skill-based than the other ones in this tier. The rest of them do kind of rely on luck. Speaking of luck, we have Ashe. Ashe, you do have to get pretty lucky. Bob is nice for a knock up at the end because it sends them really far up in the air, and that will get them a good ways behind you. You can use your one of your abilities to just kind of knock them up as well, but it's also kind of risky because it can send you back as well. So that's another word here, is risk. She's risky. She has more potential than McCree. I've seen her get farther just because I think she has a higher base movement. But yeah, she's not going to win very often. If she does, it's pretty lucky. Roadhog doesn't get that far either. He can mess you up early game with the hook and his ult. That's about it. He's worse than Junkrat in that regard, mostly because he can only do it for a specific amount of time. Junkrat can just kind of do it all the way around till he dies. So he just kind of earns the spot here. I think I'm even going to place Lucio higher than Roadhog, just because Lucio has the boop that can send people a lot farther, more consistently. He's on the 3-second cooldown. His speed boost gets him far enough. The only thing with Lucio is he's very volatile. He gets hit by one around like the mid-game-ish. He gets hit by like one knock-up and he just gets sent flying and he can't recover from it because he doesn't have the traction for it. He's too lightweight. He just dies straight up and there's nothing you can do about it. So Roadhog's more consistent, but I think Lucio gets farther more consistently, if that makes sense. So yeah, here's your tier list. Enjoy it. I'm bored if you can't tell. So yeah, I think this is a decent fairness. I think any of these four up here can be kind of interchanged depending on how you view it, but I think the rest is fairly accurate. So yeah, enjoy.